The other permission that I found interesting, two of them, in fact. One of them was the permission to experiment and the permission to think small, right?
Yeah.
Because for the last many decades we have been talking about thinking big, right?
Hmm.
Now we are talking about experiment and think small. So talk to me a little bit about these two permissions and how is it applicable to the work that I do today?
Yeah. Again, operating system turned on its head. So, former operating system was I have big plans, I have long range vision, and I act deductively to decide how I move forward from here. I mostly take decisions on the basis of predictable outcomes, which have obvious upside.
Hmm.
So nobody was encouraged to experiment. That was not a part of the adult operating system. It was risky. It was ill-advised. Now, in a fluid world, and Swami, I often think of this in terms of sort of like physical navigation of something. And for me, it's like the difference between walking on a paved path in a national park up a mountain to walking through unpaved, uncharted territory. So your
Correct.
posture will be very different, won't it? You'll go from, oh, okay, I see the end of the trail up there. I can see the summit. It's all been paved. I need to just follow. I follow directions. I figure out my path from here on back. I don't need to try anything. I just need to stay the course
Hmm.
versus I'm finding my way. So in that situation, I take much smaller steps because if I'm running, I'm going to fall. I'm going to not learn what's happening around me. I'm sort of working in a much more inductive fashion.
Hmm.
Okay. And in that inductive fashion, my primary goal is learning, looking
Hmm.
around, picking up cues, figuring out what I need to know in order to keep paving my path forward. And I might try things within that. I might experiment and say, well, let's try going that way. And once I find out that it worked, fantastic. Now I'm 10 times more capable to keep going. But I also have to quickly say, if it didn't work, fine. But it probably taught me something. And it
Hmm.
probably made me a little bit more, aware or even wary of what my environment is like. So if we come back to the fact that our aim is to be more adaptable and teachable, then those two things are critical because experiments are how we supercharge our learning quickly and at low stakes. And so I say in the book, take lots of small bets rather than like three big ones. So try little things. And then, don't be afraid to work in smaller mindsets. Like you don't have to have a 5-year plan. And I hear that a lot from young people who feel like there's something wrong with them because they don't have some grand big plan. I'm like, it's okay. You're working in a very fluid environment. You can't. And by the way, maybe you don't want to because you're discovering in real time. And by remaining open to discovery, you potentially are going to find things that if you tried from where you were standing to, figure out exactly where you wanted to be, you'd miss out on
Hmm.
everything that you were finding along the way. So for me, it's both practical, it's strategic in that it keeps you open to possibility. And frankly, I think it's the only way. And it's hard because we're not used to this. We are used to, as you say, everything was think big, go big. That was what good was. And I think there are a lot of people who might be, creating, gestating, learning, pivoting in small steps quietly as they sort of find their way rather than going with a splash and trying to kind of make big things happen all the time.